Okay, you guys, we're gonna try and burn through this portion of the video as fast as possible because I've got little man out in the room that I usually talk to you guys in the house, and I'm in here in the home office because I didn't feel like trying to talk over a blaring Spider-Man cartoon. So here we are. But basically, I almost didn't make a video out of these clips because they really weren't anything special, and I didn't do a good job of talking to the camera and stuff. But I feel like there's tips and lessons to be learned from them, so we're going to kind of talk about it, and then we'll kind of go through, what we're talking about here. So just the other day, me and Breezy ended up going out on the lake in the afternoon. For the first time, me and her actually got to go bass fishing together in over a year, right? With my work schedule, her work schedule, the baby, tournaments, we just haven't ever gone together. We've been saltwater fishing, snook fishing, snapper fishing down in the Keys and everything, but hadn't got to go out on the lake together in over a year. So it was pretty, it was great just to get out with her. I asked her, I said, you get off early tomorrow, do you want to go out? And she said yes. She got off work. We dropped the baby off with my mother-in-law, and it was perfect timing. On our way to the lake, we were getting torrentially poured on, lightning storms. By the time we got to the ramp, the weather had cleared, cooled the air off. It was slayed enough in the afternoon that it wasn't muggy and hot, and it was just a nice, beautiful, cool, still afternoon. So super fun. But we didn't catch anything giant, but we probably had like 16 pounds of fish with our best five, which that doesn't sound like anything crazy, and it's not. But for right now on Lake Okeechobee, that's getting you paid because we are in the dog days of summer, and this lake is very, very tough right now. This past weekend, I actually fished two tournaments, Saturday and Sunday. I fished Saturday by myself in the Bass Busters event out of Lewiston, and I fished all day for 4 small bites for 6 pounds. I didn't weigh them in, and obviously you guys are not going to see a video of that. But then the next day, a good buddy of mine, Ben, we had talked back and forth, and he found a decent group of fish while testing out his new boat on Saturday. So we paired up on Sunday, and we ran to those fish. Things had changed. The bait was not in there like it was. Caught a couple dinks, and then I had some fish that I had found literally a month and a half ago that I doubted were still there, but we went and checked them and ended up flipping up 14 and a half pounds in like the last hour, right? So pretty cool. I didn't make a video of it, but I have it on video. So I'm going to play these 2 clips of the 2 big ones that we caught. Because it's going to coincide with what we're going to talk about in today's video. So here's the 2 clips.
Tells me everything I need to know.
The Ewer is kind of like it resembles a lot of stuff.
Right.
Like just looking at it as a human, it's like, oh yeah, nice job, Cody.
That'll work, dude. Dude, as soon as it hit the water, it shook. Look where the bait's at. Gone.
A donk.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
Dude, I flipped in there, the reed went dink, and I lifted, it was heavy. I'm like, she's getting the wood.
Hell yeah.
She's getting the smoke.
Uh-huh.
She got the smoke, Hollywood. Oh, dear, better hook set on.
Oh, dude, that was perfect.
Megan.
Yeah.
Oh, he's all skinny.
He is.
That's all right.
Hey, help.
Steer the boat.
Yeah.
Just go wherever you want. Keep flipping. The reed shook. Told you.
All right, so pretty cool. We roll into the area. Literally, the reed head that I knew that I was getting bites and guiding. Flip in there, tree shaker. The reed head shakes. You see me jump, checker, set the hook. 5.5 pounder. Ben catches like our 3 other fish that we weighed in. The camera angle sucked because he was too far behind me, so literally you couldn't see any of it. But he caught our 3 next fish, and then we're literally on our way out. Literally 60 seconds left to fish, and I caught that 4 pounder. So, and we only had 14.5 pounds, but it was good enough for second and big fish out of like 20 boats or something. So 15 pounds won it. The weights are very low right now. So me and Breezy, we went out yesterday afternoon, 16 pounds. We got out there about 5 o'clock, so we only had about 3 hours to fish. And the objective was to kind of look for them schooling, because I'm not going to go try and flip for individual bites. Yes, we might find some bigger fish like that right now, but we only had 3 hours to fish, right? So, and in my opinion also, after a rainstorm like that and it's late in the day, the rain cools that water off. The water temp's been in the 90s. Cools that water off. We had overcast conditions, and it's late enough in the afternoon now that those fish are like, it's kind of like a breath of fresh air. They're cooled down. They're going to go roam, and they're going to hunt, and they're going to feed. All right, so we just kind of worked the outside, looking for schooling areas and schooling activity. Now, when we're looking for fish like this, there's a couple of key factors you're going to want to keep in the back of your mind to look for. One is good water. You don't want crystal clear water, as opposed to like the winter time and stuff when we're in the back throwing the big easy or flipping mats, fishing for spawning fish. You're looking for that really clean stuff because the fish are seeking that out. The cleaner the water is, the more the sun can penetrate and, heat up their eggs and all that, and everything's going to work better. The clearer the water, the more those fish can see they can warn off predatory fish like catfish and bluegill. They can see them coming from a long ways away, and they know that their line of sight is better to see boats and anglers and hooks and line as well. I really think that's a big part of it. They're safer in that clean water, so they're seeking it out. Whereas when you're dealing with fish that are schooling in the summertime, they don't want that crystal clear stuff. You don't want it dirty, but you don't want it crystal clear. You want it with the bait in it. Like I talked about in another video, we're talking about shad primarily. There are going to be some fish feeding on bluegill, but the bluegill thing is kind of done and over with. Shad is your best friend right now. And shad get blown around with the wind. Okay, they're a very fragile bait fish. They school in big balls. So they're very easy to ambush because they're not just singling out one at a time like they would a brim. They're just roaming through these big balls of bait, usually 20 or 50 or 100 fish at a time, just ambushing these balls of bait. They're easy to digest. They're very soft. They're fragile. And they're easy to catch at the end of the day as well. So when you're talking about shad, we don't have like natural current on this lake. We have wind current. All of our current water movement is generated by wind. So these shad are fragile enough that if you get a good north wind, east wind doesn't matter, but you just get a good direction of wind, it's going to blow a lot of bait in that general direction. It's going to blow with it. So what does that mean? The wind's going to blow. It's going to turn the water up, but with that, there's also going to be bait pushed in there as well. So it always seems like that it's hard to explain on video, but once you learn it, you'll see it and you'll always remember it. When you find that good water with that good color, that's the shad water that I call it. So looking for a certain type of water, you want to find most of the time the main lake or deep water to be close by. The dead center of our lake right now is 14 foot. It's not deep, okay? And you might have to go, that's the dead center. If you're in the grass, it might be a mile before you hit 5-6 foot, right? So deep water isn't as big of a deal, but if you have that main lake close to you, they're going to use that as deep water. That's a big factor as well also. I think those fish will kind of go out there and they'll kind of just come up near the grass as close as they need to get to find shad, and then they'll kind of fall back out also. So having good water, the main lake or deep water close to you, and then obviously the bait. I mean, you got to look for the bait. I always tell people, if you see one shad flick on top of the water, or you see a little ball of shad go by your boat, there's probably thousands of them around. You're just lucky enough to see that one sign of them. So went out, ran a bunch of different spots, and ended up coming across this area, started seeing a couple of shad flick, had good water clarity, not too clean, not too dirty, and Breezy throws out there, catches one. I throw out there, get blown up on another one, and before you know it, it happened so quick that the boat blew up on top of where we had those bites, right? So we ended up kind of hanging out there, but my boat position was horrible. This goes back to having power poles, or if you have a spot lock trolling motor like I don't, I wasn't quick enough on the poles and the wind got us and we ended up blowing on top of the fish. It's a big mistake this time of year. Like I said, these fish are grouped up for the most part, right? I mean, they're schooling. they're usually not alone, especially if you find all those ingredients we talked about. So as soon as Breezy caught that first one, I should have been on the power poles or backing off the spot and just assuming there was more fish there. I didn't. Rookie mistake. We ended up blowing on top of them. I ended up catching a good one, and then the bite shuts down because we're literally on top of where we got those 2 bites. I said, all right, that's fine. We left that area entirely, went and checked something else to the last hour of the day and came back to it from a different position, so the wind was in our favor, and had great boat position. And we caught a ton of fish. I don't know how many we caught, but like I said, we probably caught 16 pounds worth, and not all of them are on camera because I had battery trouble. But it was just a super fun time. But you could really overlook or fish over fish very, very easily right now. Going back to those 2 fish that you saw me and Ben catch, literally that 5.5 pounder was the first bite that we got. Right after that, Ben missed one and caught 2. And it was all within literally a 40-foot section. We fished around a couple of other heads and things, nothing. Came back to it, and while we were creeping up to it, now that we have confidence there's fish there, I'm fishing very slow, and look, there's dozens of baby bluegill, baby brim, just up eating all the little flies and stuff off the round reeds, and we actually saw a fish or 2, bass swimming also. That's where the bait was. That, for whatever reason, we don't know. We're not fish, right? But those brim, maybe they hatched out in there. The bait was all concentrated around this particular reed head, and that's where we ended up catching some more fish and getting some more bites. Even that 4-pounder on the outside, literally, you guys didn't see it, I didn't put it in there, but the 2 flips in a row before that one, I caught 2 12-inchers and then caught that 4-pounder. Also, while that was happening, Ben was even saying, there's shad pushed up right here. Bait is your best friend right now, and it's do not overlook it, and just fish slow, fish fast, but when you get 1 bite, you just have to assume that that fish is not alone right now. That's very important. So if you get a bite right now, power pull down, back off of it if you don't have power poles, or whatever you need to do, and fish that area thoroughly because they're probably not alone. So just thought I'd tell you guys that. Super fun. There's a bunch of me crying, laughing in here because Breezy says she was rusty. She missed a ton of fish. Nothing she was doing wrong, but they were literally picking the worm up. They weren't really eating it. Another thing that just reminds me, wasn't that they weren't eating it. They weren't. They were literally picking it up and moving it because these fish were all so fat. When I would pick these fish up, there was literally balls of shad, not like a shad or 2, 8 or 9 shad at a time coming out of their throats. These fish, okay, they have to eat more regularly right now because their metabolism is constantly running with the hot water. They're fed up, and if you find where they're at, there's a good chance there's a lot of bait there, which is why they're there. So they can eat whenever they want, right? So timing is everything when you're finding a school of fish. If you find bait, you find all those ingredients we talked about on the lake, and you're fishing it not getting bit, there's about a 95% chance those fish are there. They're just not feeding yet. It's up to you if you want to sit on them and wait them out, like we did in this case. I mean, when me and Breezy pulled back up there the second time, we were there 30 minutes before we got our first bite, but we just knew they were there. We waited them out, and then they started feeding. You got to just take that into consideration. If the bait's there, you just got to assume that they're full, and that's a real thing. They will get full, and then once they decide to kick off, you just need to be there. When you're dealing with shad fish on Lake Okeechobee, whether it's a shad spawn or the white swim jig on the outside, or you're fishing a dynamite hole, or anything shad related, timing. It's all about timing, and sometimes, you're there catching them every cast for an hour. Sometimes that magical window is only 7 or 8 minutes long, but you can catch 30 pounds in there. You just have to be there at the right time. So always remember that as well. And so Breezy missed a bunch of fish, so she was joking. She kept saying, you need to name this video the dialed in and the rusty one or something, because she just couldn't land a fish for a while. But she caught a bunch. It was a great time. Me and her got to get out there, and hopefully we get to go out there a lot more often now, because she's a great fisherman as well, and I love, that's where me and her met, was fishing on the lake. So hopefully we get to get out there more often and hopefully catch some bigger ones. So appreciate you guys watching. Again, I'm going to end the video with these clips here, and if you guys have questions, let me know. the fishing's good. I mean, it's tough, but you'll see we're catching fish. If you guys want to book a trip, I'm pretty open right now for the rest of this month and even through September. October's starting to book up pretty well, but appreciate you guys watching. I'm gonna go make sure my little man isn't swinging through the city with Spider-Man, and I'll see you guys on the next one.
But he's had good trips with me, I think. All three trips. I took him to Okeechobee twice. Took him out here. He did good out here. Got him? Hey. It sounded a lot bigger than that when you hit it.
Random ones.
Did you see the needlefish jump?
Oh, you tangled in the worm.
You have a what?
Bite.
Do you?
I won't.
You usually have one? It's like a 4-pounder.
Exciting stuff.
Oh, I'm not going to show them off.
time.
Reel as fast as you possibly can. So.
Oh, you let it go.
No, we did. He's coming at the boat.
Oh.
Oh my God. What is this? What are you working today? Use my Senko rod. Throw your paddle trap out there.
I'm
Ow!
gonna lose my trap. I'm getting a bite every cast.
I know, but I will put another worm on.
How big in the box?
What? So what?
How big in the box? What about my frog?
No.
No?
Chatterbait.
I don't want to lose it either.
You lose chatterbait. We got 100 of those traps.
I like those and they're expensive. Shallow. And you're not going to use it. You're going to make me wait. I really didn't know. Whoa. Clearly that's not working.
Digging. Big?
I'm going. Yeah, I'm on the lips close. Hey, you're in my way.
Oh, come on.
No.
Digging. Gabe.
Woo! Oh, they're behind us. Look over there.
Got one. There's piles in there. Right up there. Whoa. fat they all are. That's why it's so tough. They're all fed up. Who's there? Oh, bleeding a little bit, but God, they're all fat.